Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Big Footy Tiger Cast. So we're having a bit of a laugh because we both just started coughing about a nanosecond before it started saying it was live. So hopefully it didn't come through on air. Fingers crossed. We hope you're all doing well. Welcome from wherever you're listening from. CB, good evening, mate. How's it going?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. Love to be back. Apologies for missing last week, but just a little bit going on. So, yeah, but back this week, mate. That's the important thing. Give you a hand.
No, all good. Oh, yeah, we're just to step up slightly. What is that? An old school jacket? Oh, yeah, okay. I like it.
Yeah.
That's a ripper.
Absolutely, mate. This thing is absolutely sexy. So,
yes. Is that a new jacket?
Yep. Retro. So the store type, the merch store sold out, but you can get them. Apparently, you can get these at an AFL shop or what have you. You can get them. I got mine online on eBay. So, yeah, they're around. So.
Yeah, right. That's a cracker. I might have to look into that. That's very nice.
They actually work all right. So I've taken the dog for a couple of walks as a windbreaker and and quite comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Oh, very good. That is a very good throwback. I'm just sporting just when I get a little bit sad about our performances, I just pull out one of those ones just to help get by through the tough times of the season. I'm sure we've all got a couple of those rolling around as well.
What was the old joke about the cans of beer? They said something about rather than call it Adelaide Lager, they called it Victoria Bitter or something after the rolling in 2017. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was too. Oh dear. All right. Well, before we get stuck into the game, obviously a bit of news broke today about David Teague parting way with Richmond effective immediately. First, I want to thank David Teague for his service. I think he joined just before the start of 2022. And obviously, I think he did some good stuff with us in that year, and it probably hasn't translated over the last couple of years. And I think a lot of us probably felt this change was on the card somewhat, just given he wasn't part of Uze's coaching structure. He's kind of a carryover from Dimmers. The timing of it, though, CB, and just, I don't know, for me, and I might be wrong, it just reeks not a lot of cohesion in the coaching box for this to be happening now of all times and effective immediately. Usually the assistant coaches do know their movements by August 1, I think is the ruling. But yeah, I don't know, something about it just seems slightly off.
No, actually, to me, it made sense. Now, I mean, there's talk about his contract was up anyway, but it actually allows the club time to find a replacement and reshuffle the deck chairs. It also allows David time to find possible employment himself. So, from a timing perspective, it's pretty fair. I find it interesting that for all the criticism we get about Uze being very cuddly, the offside, we're being a bit too gentle in the off-field thing. But once again, it just goes to show you that the Tigers don't play the media game. Behind the scenes, we do what we're going to do, to use that cliche, within our four walls. So clearly, we've just done what we felt was necessary in an appropriate time frame. And, I mean, some people were calling for this type of change. Well, okay, you got it, right? Supporters, calm down. You got it, right? The first of a few dominoes to drop, I would suggest.
I think so too. Now, I was trying to look this up just before, and usually the club websites have the coaching staff listed on there, but I couldn't actually find it. Because I know he's changed lines a little bit. So I know in 2022 that he was looking after the forward line, and we were obviously a pretty heavily scoring side. Is that where he's still looking after this year? Was it still the forward line, or was it ball movement? Because I've read kind of conflicting reports.
No, I thought it was forward line.
I thought it was still forward line as well.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because he hasn't exactly had a full list available for him to work with over the course of the year. Like his main man has played 8 games in 2 years. So that's not exactly going to help his cause. But look, I think a change was always on the cards. Who do you think is going to step up in the interim? Is this something that Steve?
Jared Rivers is called to come in, so don't know too much about it. But I'll say this as well. I hope the supporters don't go full Essendon on David Teague. He's a human. He's tried his best. It hasn't worked out. But I think we send him off with a bit of dignity and respect, and we don't do, even though it's been a frustrating and a terrible year, I think we just wish him all the best. I would just like to put that out there as well and show a bit of class in what we do. Would that be fair?
Absolutely. Like, end of the day, he's been a part of the Richmond fabric in, maybe in a smaller sense than some other coaches, but he obviously was important during some of the 2022 and 2023 season, and I think he still deserves the respect of being a part of the Richmond Footy Club for sure. Like, no one signs up to work at a club to do their worst job, do they? Like, they're always signing up to give their best because it's a reflection upon them and it helps them further their career as well. And all you have to do is read the article on the Richmond website, and you can see the respect between both he and the club and what they both think of each other, and it's pretty good. So I think that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, just to highlight Danny's point there at 8:38.
That one,
right? Michaels will confirm, and we'll go no further than this. This could be a radical off season, given. Yes. What I heard going into the weekend. That's all I'll say for now. It was wild. So anyway, I think regardless whether it was 15% right, 50% right, 100% correct, what I heard on Friday night, there's some things happening. And that's not me making shit up to drum, listen. No, I'm telling you, like I kept this in-house with what I'd heard, and I've got no reason to doubt it. And it's pretty significant. So,
yeah. And I'd heard similar from someone else as well that kind of aligns to what who wouldn't have heard it from the same person you did. So, interesting to see. I think the bottom line is, and I think we all really kind of know it, there's a lot to play out. From a lot of factors within the club, which would be very interesting to see. Yes, to see what happens. But
and not to be a smart ass, for those asking if it's good or bad, probably depends on you. Probably depends how you've viewed the year and what you think is good or bad, or what you want. So it'll probably be in the eye of the beholder as to how you read possibly some of the things that could possibly go down.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough call. But obviously, David Teague, wish you all the best in future endeavours. It sounds like you might be looking at stuff outside of football as well, potentially, which is interesting. But
I think we've said there's big things going to happen, and I think there's some big things. So, and I'll say this too. Like, you talk about the Teague situation, and I'll go off my own personal experience, like taking over a club myself and running one in the last couple of years. I can legitimately say the first year, anyone who's ran a club of any type before will probably relate to this. Your first year, you actually inherit the playing list, you inherit the problems, you inherit the debt or the money, whatever. You inherit the whole box and dice. You don't really get to put your stamp on things, depending on the type of year you've had, until year two. But I can personally vouch for that with the club I'm running. And I finally get a chance to put my stamp on my personal club. So with regards to Uze, he inherited some coaches, he inherited a playing list. He doesn't get a real crack at it until this off season. So this year's just, in tax terms, it's a write-off, right? So I would hold fire on Uze until we sort of see what goes on the next 2 years. Give him a chance. That's what I would suggest. And you guys do what you want to do.
Yep, no, I'm with you. I like big Ange. We'll play a bit of Ange ball. I don't mind that, Nick. Let's get Ange ball in at Richmond. That was good from the start of the year, but that faded eventually. Yeah. I think that was it in terms of big news. I mean, the other one that I still laugh at is they're still trying to make a story out of the Dustin Martin stuff. When you've got Pendlebury's 400th, you've got, all kinds of, Essendon are now 10th, all kinds of things that, are happening in the world. But yet he's still the main man being spoken about. But anyway, we'll push on. We obviously played a game against the Magpies.
Just on Warren Adair's comments there too, just on Barmy. He's got health problems, mate. So I think there's a bit of a mutual thing there. Neil's dealing with some personal issues, so he's. I think the club needs to honour him now because he's got some health problems coming up.
I think reading between the lines, it very much sounded like he wanted to keep going. I think it almost felt like he was trying to ignore his own health stuff, and I think some of the people at the club might have gone, "No, you need to look after yourself first and foremost." Which obviously he absolutely does. So he's been a great acquisition for the club, no doubt, and that loss is going to hurt too. But he's got to put his health and well-being before absolutely everything else. Now the game we had on the weekend against the Magpies, Collingwood won by 26 points, 14-9-93 to 9-13-67. Goal kickers, we had Tommy Brown bob up with 3, which was a very nice little surprise. Caleb Smith won, Dion Prestia won, Camden McIntosh won, Kazitsky won, Seth Campbell won, Sam Banks won. Disposal-wise, that's not a good day when Nathan Broad's getting 27 as your top disposal getter. Jaden Short's another defender, 25. Dan Rioli, 25. So our top 4 possession getters are all defenders. That probably says a little bit about how the day went for us, I suspect. I truthfully missed a lot of this game because I had a family function on the bulk of the day. I was keeping tabs on the phone, but it sounded like the messages I was getting made it seem like it was worse than what the scoreline was showing. But how did you feel about the game having watched it?
Firstly, let's talk about Tom Brown. If he does not get a Rising Star nomination this weekend or this week, again, to quote Tiggs, AFL corruption. He dead set. He had a blinder, Tommy Brown. Not blind, but he had a very kicking 3, took a great mark on Darcy Moore, had a very, very good game.
Saw him take a really good one-hander on Maynard as well late in the piece too.
Yeah, no, if he doesn't get the rising nom now, I mean, he's never going to get it. Like, he should have got it after about round 4 or 5 anyway. But
especially because the little catchphrase is always about a body of work, isn't it? And it feels like he's put in more than a body of work over the course of the season.
There you go. Someone from Freo got it. Corruption.
Oh, there we go.
Corruption. So anyway, just I'll tell you what, Greeners is going to go apeshit on Talking Tigers, isn't he? Shifter Sheen's got to get another mention on Talking Tigers. Look, I felt he had a very good game. When you talk about the scoreline, I'm curious to see what our viewers will judge. I will say this. I think the scoreline, we got flattered. We really got dominated. And tactically, I mean, if I was to say to you, Michaels, what's Darcy Moore's strength? What's the one thing he wants you to do if you're playing Collingwood? What does he want you to do?
He wants you just to kick it long down the line so he can intercept Mark and just, cut everything off.
So it's fair to say you and I have never played AFL football.
Yep.
We've never coached at AFL level.
No.
But we recognise this fact, yeah?
Yes.
What do you think our game plan was into the forward line?
I reckon we've just bombed it in long and high like we do every other week. to no notable key forward.
It was literally our game plan: kicking out of defence, chip to the pocket, bang it long, and we just dump kick in. And like I said, he hasn't had a good game in over a month, and we just gave it to him on a platter. We just served it to him just the way he likes it. So it was really, it was dumb, to be honest. It was dumb. But I will say this: I thought Jacob Kaczynski had another handy game.
Right,
I thought he certainly wasn't embarrassed. Clearly, Nathan Broad reads big footy because he copped an absolute serve, and people said, "Oh, Broad is no good, dump him." And it was at that point that he ignited and absolutely tore it up.
I was seeing a lot of positive comments about Broad. He obviously had a ripper. I know he got top disposals, but 15 marks as well and a clearance.
Yeah, look, Broad was great. Vlosten was great. Rioli was great. Shorty had a crack, probably his best game for a while. Taranto went out early with a back injury, which didn't help. Taranto and Hopper, 20 disposals. Prestia, Hopper, 20 disposals each. Hopper, 3 marks. But they were okay. We really missed Nank. We really missed Nankervis's impact in the middle. That really stood out.
How did Samson Ryan go shouldering the number 1 ruck load?
Got better as the game went on. To be fair to him, got better as the game went on. Bolter, the reason we sort of pulled it back a little bit in the back half of the game was Bolter actually went and played defense.
Right.
So you could argue why didn't we start him in defense, or you could argue why didn't we have Jacob Blight playing defense so Noah could play forward? It makes it a bit more mobile. I don't know. Yeah, look, I mean, we just don't have we don't have the cattle out there in some areas. So
obviously Brown's gone forward and kicked 3 goals, and I've seen a lot of comments saying, "Yep, Brown forward, love it, love it." Is it going to be a similar conversation that we've been having for over a year with Bolter? Are we going to be having the same conversation with Brown? Like when Bolter went forward early days, he showed some hope and kicked goals too. Are we going to be having the same discussions with Tom Brown as we are Noah Bolter?
No, it's different when you're trying to compare key positions to. I think the conversation we'll have in the off season is what do we do with with young Gibcus? That'll be a conversation given our lack of forward talent.
Yeah,
as Kelty doesn't come back till halfway through the season.
Yeah,
Dusty apparently going to 15 other clubs. Who knows where he'll be next year? Tom Lynch, he's on the final year of his contract next year. We haven't seen him for 2 years. What's he going to do next year? A lot of ifs and buts. Trezise, there's a good one. Trezise was fantastic. I thought Trezise was really good. I thought he was another good kid. The kids are playing well. They're making mistakes, but they're cracking in, right? You can't question their endeavour. The issues we've got are from our senior guys, some of our senior players. That's where I see the main problems that we have. So
it's been the theme of the last few weeks, hasn't it? It's not like the young kids are doing their part, but it's the more experienced guys not doing their part, which is really, really frustrating, to be honest.
It is. The Rezzies actually had a bad loss. They've been playing really well, but they lost to a team that hadn't won since round 3 on the weekend. Collingwood got us just over on. Yeah. But I didn't get to see much of that, if I'm honest. I watched a bit of it towards the end. I don't think Sonzi did that much. Coulthard did some things. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that much about the Rezzies.
Anyone in chat have any reports on VFL? Was Morris Rioli, did he play? I think he played. Marlon Pickett, if he went any good. And Bauer, did he play? Did he end up playing the VFL? Was he carryover for AFL?
No. So actually, yeah, Bauer seemed okay, and there's someone's just given Sonzi's no. Yeah, Sonzi, I heard had a good finish to the game. He might have started poorly, but had a solid finish from what I understand. MRJ and Pickett did get through, but Pickett only come in the second half, I believe. Didn't play the first.
Right, so that was a structured game time.
Yeah, I think probably we're almost at a stage we probably need to play Bauer for a game.
Yep, I agree.
And give him a go.
He's 1 goal for. I'm surprised the Bauer didn't actually get a game this week, given, we're not really flush with options. I would have put him in, so I think we'll see him sooner rather than later, I would think.
Yeah.
Judging by some of the comments, I'm going to be guessing that Morris Jr. might have an extra week to build back up some match fitness to get through a full game if they only played a half. Potentially Pickett as well, or do you roll the dice and just chuck him straight back in?
Nah, I wouldn't. You know what? We actually need to get the Rezzies. Seniors are a wash. You might as well leave Pickett, MRJ. You might as well few of these boys that come back. Ross, play him in the reserves for the rest of the year. The big question is, what do you do with a guy like Tom Lynch with his 3-week, 8-week hamstring that it's turning out to be? So do you just put him in cotton wool now and say, season over, big guy, get right, and let's just go again in pre-season? What do you do?
It's an interesting one. Like, if the same coaching group was staying together and was all going forward next year, I'd probably be of the view to bring him in and try and get some consistency and continuity back in, even if it was for the last 3 games. But on the basis that we're obviously going to be losing Teague, odds on Rutten's probably going to be in a different spot as well next year. It's going to be a whole new look and a whole new, I don't know. I just think because it's going to be all brand new next year, I personally just wouldn't risk him. There's nothing to gain. Like, I know it probably helps having a bit more of a senior body out there, And I definitely don't disagree with that. But given that there's nothing to actually build on this year to take into next year because it's all going to change dramatically, I think just let him get a full pre-season. I think that's probably more important than playing the last 3 games.
Agreed.
So, and it hurts because he's played like 2 games in 8 years, so it's infuriating. But you would rather see someone like Blight play. Just try and get these kids to 50 games as quick as possible. There's literally nothing else to lose this year, and just reset for a big preseason.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, just some thoughts out there.
What about? I noticed that Dacos got an absolute shitload of the ball. So we obviously opted not to tag him. Was that a bit of a surprise? I think he had like 17 disposals in the first quarter, and we still let him run free. Why did we not do anything?
I'm so happy you brought this up because I actually had this in my brain to talk about, and I've forgotten. Why don't we tag players? Someone tell me why. Who in the coach's box right now looks at it and goes, we are playing such shit hot footy that we can afford to have a bloke rack up 15 in the first quarter and let him go untouched? Who thinks it mightn't be a good idea to just actually put someone on, tag him? Like, the only thing I'll give Uzo credit for, at one stage he did run Seth Campbell with him in the later parts of the game, which I think that was a good coaching move. But the first quarter was just rampant.
Like, if nothing else, even if it fails ultimately, if nothing else, sending someone like a Seth Campbell to them from the start, he's gonna learn a hell of a lot playing on a Nick Dacos who's going to lead him to the ball at every contest. Yeah, he probably might get outworked over the course of 4 quarters, but I think the learnings that would come from that would be quite valuable.
Nick Dacos is an absolute jet. And what separates him from a lot of the kids his age is his work rate. We got out. I mean, the amount of times that we were just outnumbered at the contest. We'd have 2 blokes going in. There'd be like 4 Collingwood guys, and they were just banging it forward. It was insane how hard they worked and how much they outran us. And by working hard and outrunning us, they just created the loose man options forward of the pill.
Any others? The other thing I've noticed the last couple of weeks, Camden McIntosh has been almost playing as a key forward in some parts of the game. Now, I know that's not going to be a full-time swap for him, but he has been taking some okay marks down there. What's everyone thought of Camden McIntosh venturing forward on a bit more permanent basis? I know a lot of people have been wanting someone else to take the wing spot. Is that maybe an evolution of some kind that Camden McIntosh pushes forward if we've got a youngster moving onto the wing role? Because he's actually quite tall, good overhead mark, quite strong. He has shown he can kick goals. It's just an interesting move to maybe free up that wing spot.
I didn't mind it personally, and he didn't have a bad game. Took a couple of good marks.
And he can actually do the defensive things as well.
He had one where he should have kicked a drop punt. He had 2 brain farts around the goals. One, he decided to have a snap, and they put Mason Cox on the mark, and it just got.
I did see that.
Right through. And then there's another one. He could have had a shot, and he tried to handball to Prestia, who can't kick over 30 meters anymore. So there's a bit of a brain snap there. So, but he actually got his hands on it at least and contested, and actually did some things. So I thought, Camden wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, to be honest.
And maybe he'll just pick up some more composure and things if he starts playing there on a more permanent basis. Hopefully some of those things will eradicate from his game. But it's if you want a younger kid to take the wing spot, I still don't think there's anyone actually pushing him out of the side because, 1 week people will start slapping him for some turnovers, and the next week, everyone, and I'm one who's always sung his praises, to be honest, for his 2nd, 3rd, and 4th efforts on the wing. That not many of our players can do. So I don't think anyone's pushed him out of the side just yet. Someone else got a point here. Why are we not tackling enough? Asked Tony. I think that's a reasonable question. I actually think this might sound really odd. I think it's a little bit by instruction. I reckon they've been told to kind of corral and pressure again, or at the point at which they should tackle has maybe become confusing, which sounds strange, but I reckon they've been
No,
told to pressure a certain way before tackling, and I think they're getting a little bit confused.
there's a logic to what you're saying because the tackle's effectively dead, isn't it? You're actually risking suspension these days if you tackle, or free kicks, and you can just drop the ball when you tackle someone anyway. So I think you're right. They're trying to corral rather than commit to the tackle to some degree.
Which is annoying because we've been sometimes getting tackle numbers of like 20 or maybe not 20, but 30, really, really low numbers. And, when tackling and pressure was a cornerstone of our football not that long ago, then it's an effort thing. And I think that's what annoys people when watching games. I think you could kind of handle these losses if visually you could see players are chasing everybody, putting in the hard yards, tackling. I think people would maybe feel a bit different about our losses. Would that be a fair call?
But it also, you think again, we had 5 guys under 20 games and under. So
yep.
They probably physically don't have the strength to. Some of these guys probably don't have the strength to tackle a Maynard or some of these bigger guys busting through. So probably a little bit of that as well. We don't quite have the physicality to go with some of the bigger teams.
And a few people have been saying Dion Presti didn't have a good game. What were your thoughts on him?
No, I thought he was serviceable. I thought he was all right. Kicked a goal, set a couple up. He was all right. He wasn't our worst.
Wasn't the worst. Okay, that's we just got to. If only we had kids. How are you, Morgs? Well done to your mob.
Hi, Morgs.
Thoughts on Banks? I didn't see, so I won't pass off any thoughts. But did Banks have a good one, CB?
Kicked an absolute jaffer of a goal, and he's got a really dirty mustache. So two ticks for me. So no. Look, again, the kids are doing their job. It's the senior guys that are fumbling and bumbling and making poor decisions and some of the skill errors. I can forgive the kids. I can't forgive the senior guys. So, I mean, then Collingwood got their first or second goal. Their first goal, Jaden Short went for a ball and he went to ground. He skidded along the ground and missed everything. And then they just laced out Pendlebury and he gets the first goal of the game. And that was after Dion Presti had the ball. We would have had the first centre clearance. And he opts, rather than kick it forward while we've got less numbers in the forward, in the forward 50, and looks for a miracle handball over the top, turns over, goes for the other way. So it's those little things that are just killing us.
So we talk about that the kids are doing their job and it's about the senior guys. Now, if this supposed clean out happens in terms of players, like I'm not saying all of these will happen, but there's obviously speculation about Baker leaving, speculation about Rioli, speculation on Bolton, Martin. We probably feel Grimes might retire.
Will. Will.
Yeah, Prestia might be hit and miss as well. Obviously, we're going to replace a lot of them with young kids. We're not going to have a lot of senior players potentially of good quality around all these young kids coming through. So how are we all going to feel watching games like that week in, week out next year?
You have to go through it.
I'm personally fine with it. I can enjoy and get around watching the young kids develop and get to that 50 game mark and get around them. But Cumberland's another one. Yeah, I suppose my worry is how many more experienced players are we going to have left of quality that have still got it that are going to be able to guide them?
Yeah, but I kind of look at the other way too. I always think of the Paul Roos example where if we had more depth, if we had less injuries, if blokes aren't going to be there next year and don't want to commit, just play them in the resis and say that, well, you're out.
Yep.
I wish that's the one thing I wish we had the ability to do this year is go, well, culturally, you know what? If you're not going to put in, go spend the last 6 weeks in the reserves.
And I think this is a good call from RFC Centre. If you watch Hawthorn for the last couple of years, they were going through all this pain as well. And they've now got themselves in a really nice spot and are playing really good footy. So I think that's a really good comparison to make that we're probably at the start of where their journey was a couple of years ago.
And this is the point. Like, even this year, before Hawthorn hit their streak, people were calling for Mitchell's head this year, right? It's effectively two and a bit seasons in. We've got to be patient with this. If we're going to do the proper rebuild, if we're going to do it properly, then we have to cop 2 years of absolute nut kickings in some cases. And that's okay because you need to get the picks in to rebuild. While you look at Hardwick. Hardwick bought picks in, and then he bought some guys like Hawley and Grigg. You think some of the guys, we were joking the other day, talking about Aaron Edwards, Tom Hislop.
Yep.
Ivan Marich. Look at all the guys. Just think back at those the bigger bodied guys. While we drafted the kids in, the bigger bodied guys we got in to protect the kids while they learnt their craft. And the blueprint is there. We're going to have to go back to the well and do that. Now, I'm not saying go get a Marcus Graham type or a Tom Hislop, but I am saying, it's worthwhile, if you can get another Sean Grigg or Hawley in. So, yeah, there you go. Ricky Pettard, hard as a cat's head.
Chris Knights.
So, yeah, Chris Knights. So that's all I'm saying is just be prepared, boys and girls, because we've got to do it now before Tasmania starts caning the draft.
100%. I'm with you there. Aaron asked a question. Do you think the players aren't listening to Uze? Now, I've got a theory that I don't know whether it's so much the players aren't listening to Uze. I think there's, and this is no inside knowledge at all, this is just my own opinion, that I feel like there's been too many chefs in the kitchen putting forward different ideas and overriding one another, and it's caused mass confusion because there just seems like there's no rhyme or reason on any part of the ground. And I kind of feel like with Uze being the new kid on the block, that maybe some of the other senior assistants tried to force their hand a little bit more, and maybe it wasn't always going to Uze's plan. It was kind of beating to their drum a bit too, trying to have their influence on it to guide them. Maybe they thought they were doing the right thing, but maybe it's caused a bit of confusion. I think there just needs to, if there isn't already, there needs to just be that one clear voice, and we follow that and just make sure we have the right plan in place and everyone adheres to it.
I have heard there's a disconnect.
And I think the departure today backs that.
I will clarify. I've heard there's a disconnect between some of the senior players and Uze, but I think it ties into your point, Michaels, in that I think there's some mixed messages from the coaching staff, which has led to a bit of confusion, which has exacerbated the situation. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think all the senior players are maybe craving is, proper leadership. Like Uze, he's the main man. What he says goes. We're following his plan and his plan only, and everyone else, you deliver that plan however you need to deliver it, but it has to all tie back into that one person's message, which is what we had with Dimmer for so long. But I just maybe feel like that because he was not as experienced, that a few others tried to throw their own bits and pieces in, and it hasn't panned out.
Hey, Christian, Tom Morris has such good news that he can report on Dustin Martin leaving us, but somehow missed the story of Teague getting the arse, but knew about a Richmond disconnect. So don't know how good his mail is, to be honest, because it seemed like every journalist who claims they've got some knowledge of Richmond shit all missed the Teague situation. That's all I'll say.
As we said before, people, we're not making excuses, mate. With the tackle stuff, they're definitely not tackling by design or for whatever reason, whether it's they're worried about getting suspended for being overzealous or what it is. I think there's a little bit of confusion about the type of pressure the coaches want them to put out before they tackle, and they're getting it all mixed up. And it is frustrating because obviously we're a very good tackling team, but yeah, I don't think you can say that we're making excuses for them. We've quite clearly pointed out quite a few deficiencies, I reckon.
Just on Jay Tiger's point down the bottom, asking if it's the worst team. As a supporter for 40 plus years, no, I've seen worse teams. What I haven't seen in the 40 years is an injury crisis. I can't recall an injury crisis like this that has sustained itself through the whole season, which has led to poor on performance results. I've seen near full strength squads produce seasons like this. So that's how I clarify in my mind that this isn't the worst season I've seen by Richmond, because the injury results have contributed so badly. 42 players we've used this year. It says it all.
And I think that's why I've been probably comfortable with some of what's gone on, because if this was happening week in, week out with our full list available and full stability of the club and everything, you'd be absolutely ropeable and tearing your hair out week in, week out. But I don't know, for this year, maybe it's being a bit soft, but I'm happy to give a pass mark. Not a pass mark, but I'm happy to let it slide. Call a mulligan, if you will, in a golf term, and wait till we can launch back in next year with a bit more stability, because we've got to get a CEO, we've got to get more assistants sorted and all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy to call mulligan to for this year. But yeah, and I don't disagree with people who say effort is still a thing. And I'm fully with that too.
Andrew says Captain Blood is the worst fall for a side who won the premiership 3 years ago. I don't know. Collingwood won a flag last year. Is currently sitting 12th. So I reckon they're probably in a bit more shit than us, and they've got an older list. So and their first draft pick this season coming up is about pick 30, mate. They traded the first rounder for a fat hobbit from Fremantle. So I reckon I'd rather be in our situation than theirs, believe it or not.
And the Bulldogs fell off a cliff after 2016. But all that aside, have a look who's just jumped into the green room. It's EJ. How are you, buddy? What's going on?
Good boy.
G'day. How are we?
Good. Yourself? What's happening? Where are you live from?
As you can see, I'm in salubrious surroundings.
It looks like you're in some type of cell.
Where's your bathroom?
I think I'm in Groupie's
bathroom.
Groupie's dungeon. Yeah, I'm actually away from home for the first time in I can't remember how long. I wasn't sure whether I actually get the internet to work. It's been half an hour of me fluffing around, but I'm not in jail, Kane.
I'll tell you what, someone's going to lift that window up and slide your meal in under there in a second, I reckon.
Yeah. What's that cold chisel song? 4 walls? A single basin, bathtub, and a race.
Prison cell. Yeah. So, I've been watching every week. I have been. Thank you for the kind words. I have noted
live from Alcatraz.
What's that bloody TV series? Prison Break. It starts right now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh shit.
Anyway.
Did you watch the game on the weekend? What were your thoughts on it?
I listened to the game. I was saying to CB, I listened to the game from go to woe unfortunately, with my family situation at the moment, I'm sort of carrying a lot of baggage, and I had to take my son away for his sport. So I didn't get to see the game, but I listened to it from go to woe on ABC Radio, and I listened to Mick Malthouse shit on us for 3 hours.
Oh, you're getting slayed here, EJ. You're getting slayed.
You know what? I deserve it. I'm happy to be available to be slayed.
So Mick Malthouse just shit canned us for 3 hours. That would have been good.
That's all he did. Shit canned us for 3 hours.
But remember when he told us that he couldn't see Carlton losing a game 1 year? And
Yep. Oh, look. I would normally go to 10, 12 games of football a year. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances that have sort of affected me this year, I've been to one. I went to Dusty's game, which was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I've been able to watch most. I've got to go into the comments. I had it on private chat.
Next week, EJ will have no ears. I
don't know that song, but if I knew it, I'd sing it.
Here, no points. No points here.
EJ looks like our Carlton season is going. My goodness me. Well, hopefully we haven't derailed the show too much. Where were we up to? Let's get back on track.
Well, we're probably about to launch into the North Melbourne game coming up. But even before we do that, CB and I've obviously had our say about, I suppose, the season thus far and game plan, and is it there, is it not there, and Uze and things like that. Given, you're back on board for this moment, what are your thoughts on how the season's unfolded so far and your thoughts on Uze and Teague leaving? What's your summation there?
Oh, Vinegar Tits. Watch out for Vinegar Tits, prisoner. Sorry. Everyone who's 50 will get that gag. Sorry.
I've never been less stressed watching football in my entire life. We've been really, really shit. But I can already see the future, and I'm happy with what I've seen. For me, it's the senior players that have been the disappointment. The kids coming through, I've been really happy with. Am I? Oh, the Big Show. I'll take that. I will take that. The Big Show is a hero of mine. Yes, I'll take that. Overall,
Queen CP.
overall,
There's prisoner references coming through. This is amazing.
I'm seeing the comments, and I'm not sure if I'm happy I turned them on or not. Overall, pretty happy, really. Like, we've got to be happy with Steely Green. We've got to be happy with Seth Campbell. I'll put my hand up. I was wrong about Hugo Ralphsmith. We've got to be happy with Blight. I hope he plays a few more games before the end of the year. You know, all the young kids, tick, 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 tick. Nank would probably be winning the best and fairest. He's one of the senior players that's been amazing. I've been lucky enough to be able to watch the replay of most games that I haven't been able to see them all year. I haven't seen as much live footy as I would like through the year. I think I'm a chance. Mate, will you stop doing what you're doing, CB, please?
So is that an Elner press in the background?
And yes, someone else has written in the comments, Brown. Brown is amazing. Did he get tell me he got the Rising Star?
No. Fremantle.
Thank you.
It went to, who was it again? Was it Warner? I think someone said from Fremantle.
Gimp. There you go.
What did you make of his 3 goals?
Well, on the radio, it sounded like that goal from 55 could have gone 100. Like he's absolutely stroked it.
Draper's not Warner. Draper. Yeah, it cleared it pretty well. I saw a highlight of that. He kicked that pretty smoothly.
Yeah. I am absolutely beside myself that he didn't get the Rising Star this week. Hello, Nick.
So the other $1 million question that we're talking about with Brown, do you see? I know it's a very small sample size of him playing forward, but is your preference for him to keep being experimented with up forward, given his marking and kicking, or would you rather him down back?
Back.
Okay, so you would have been in defence.
That have what? Okay, I'll ask you guys. What do you make of short season so far?
Not great.
I thought he had his best game for a long time on the weekend.
I'm still trying to get over you looking like some sort of cross between Santa Claus and Papa Smurf. What are you doing?
Not sure about that, mate. We want to know where Lizzie's hiding.
I see a real gap for a distributor from halfback. Not the running player that Rioli is, but that distribution by foot, and he's elite. So if Bauer or, what's his name? The guy that's kicked a million, Lynch, whatever, if they all come back, I would prefer he was back. Leave Bolter forward.
Oh, Jesus.
No, but he was by sounds of the radio, the game changed when he went back on the weekend.
CB said exactly that it kind of stemmed the flow a bit once Bolter went back. And look, I know Uze was very set on this experiment with Bolter at forward, but maybe he's got to bite the bullet and keep him in defence and try Gibcus, try plan B. I don't know. I'm not sure what the full answer is. But we've got the Kangaroos this week in a game that is essentially a hit out for the number 1 pick. I don't know. I think on exposed form, and I truly do think both teams will be trying to win the game. I know some might disagree with that, but the players don't go out there each week trying to lose. That's just the reality of it. It's probably more our supporters that hope for a certain result one way or another. I think the Kangaroos are going to definitely have their tail up, and they'll definitely view this as a game that they can get another 4 points from. What changes do we see happening this week? Dusty, I'm guessing, is a speculative chance to make it back. You might see Pickett or Morris Jr. could be a chance to come back in as well. Is Nank should be back in from his concussion, so a few players could be on the way in. What changes do we see ahead of it?
The first change I want to see is we need to get rid of the drums at the start of each game, and whoever organised the start of the Olympic ceremony, that whole thing with the blue Smurf and that, We need to go with that. We need to get that person and do some pride shit before the start of the game, organised by the French people. That's what we need. I reckon that'll get us off to a flyer. That's the first change.
What about personnel into the side? Who's coming in this week?
Blue Smurf guy to full forward.
Well, you're a half the Blue Smurf, so don't say too much.
Oh, goodness.
Look, I don't know. I don't think. Well, Taranto's out. He's not going to play. So
Because it was back in hip injury or something, wasn't it?
Back's that bad, is it?
So we say that Dow comes in for Taranto, probably. I imagine, or is
Dusty?
Dusty's not going to play again this year, or maybe one game. That'll be it. Was McAuliffe out in the twos in the weekend as well?
No, played.
Okay.
Him and Sonzi played full games.
Maybe McAuliffe comes in.
Sonzi racked up 30.
Sonzi's washed, man. That's probably. I've been away for too long. I'm being too honest now. I think I see more future in McAuliffe than Sonzi. That's the way I would have put it. Maybe McAuliffe comes in for Taranto. That would be my change.
I reckon Dusty will come in. All the talk is Dusty's back for North. So I reckon you get Nankervis, Dusty, Sonzi. Those three will come in. Maybe we'll bring in Jacob Barrow might come in, and also Jacob Blight. There could be about 5 changes, I reckon.
Where's Jack Ross at? I keep seeing, is he still listed as a couple of weeks?
It's been a 4-week, 10-week ankle.
What was it? The syndesmosis? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm definitely on board for seeing Bauer in the side this week. I think he's kind of got the runs on the board in the VFL, some fitness in him too, and I think it'll be really, really good to see him in. Nank will come straight back in. You imagine from the concussion.
I was going to say Samson Ryan had a crook ankle, so he may miss naturally just to give his ankle a rest for a week.
Okay. Because like Jerry from North is a very good ruckman, so whoever it is that's playing is going to have their work cut out for him. Although I'd go with the lesser option because I've got him in Supercoach, and if he scores well, that's going to be a good thing for me. But what about? Are we going to pay attention to Sheasel? Sheasel's had he came off a really good game last week. Obviously, in a similar kind of vein to Dacos, you can't let him get the ball 35 times. Will we learn from our mistake from last week and actually send someone to him from the start?
Is Jack Graham available this week? Yeah, because he'd been doing a run with roll and going quite well till he missed with his hip. So what are the odds he comes in?
At the risk of alienating our Collingwood fans, and I don't know if Morgs is listening.
She is. But be careful. She is.
G'day, Morgs. I've missed you. I think Sheasel is going better at the stage he is at now than Nick Dacos was. Maybe not as many possessions, but he's more damaging. Sheasel. Oh,
good kid. Like him.
Unreal.
Well, this is a good idea. Do we send someone like Seth Campbell to Sheasel? Just, if nothing else, as a learning experience. Again, I know Sheasel's young in his own right, but we've just got to pay him some respect and try and quell his influence because, their midfield could get a hold of us. And again, we say it week in, week out, it's going to come down to the midfield battle and what we can do up forward. But if we can't get the ball movement right in the front half of the ground, then whatever else we do is completely irrelevant. But what will be interesting is to see if anything at all changes with Teague now departing and whoever else steps into the role this week. It will be interesting to see if anything changes from our forward setup point of view.
Have we got enough players to change our forward setup?
So they're saying, I reckon Martin will be back this week. Rioli played, Pickett calf. Angus Graham, they think he'd be more likely returning against North Melbourne, so Graham will be available. Nankervis will be back. They reckon Jack Ross will be returning after the bye week in the VFL. And the rest are all the long-termers. So, you're talking, Nankervis, Graham, Hayes, Brown, all back. So, So,
I mean, North have been building nicely this year, and in the last few weeks, Load coming back has changed their back setup considerably. They look a lot stiffer down back. They've got a great key forward. They've got a good midfield. They've got an A-grade ruck. They're a half-decent side. I'm actually surprised they haven't won more games. They've been in a lot of games.
Yeah, they've definitely improved from the halfway point of the season for sure. They've and I credit to them for keeping their confidence levels too. Like after that loss to Collingwood, where they had the lead, like was it 50 points and they lost, they could have easily dropped their bundle and just could have fallen to shit. But they've still put up some pretty good performances week in, week out. It's no real surprise that they're favourite in this game against us.
Well, North have to win. For them to say they're going anywhere, they have to win this game.
It's almost like now for them, it now becomes about a bit more of a pass mark as well for Clarko and their developmental stage and where they're at with their football, doesn't it? I think them losing would be a significant backward step if they were to finish last again.
100%. 100%. So they have to win this. They can't not win.
And they're really both sides, on exposed form, they are playing a lot better than us. But again, all we just want to see is you just want to see a 4-quarter effort. Whatever happens, happens. But for me this week, and I'm sure everyone's feeling the same, you just want to see the experienced guys have a proper dip for 4 quarters. The young kids will, because they're trying to prove themselves to get a spot for next year and some game time. You want to see the experienced guys actually lead by example, show they care, show they put up a bit of fight, and put in a proper effort. Game being at Marvel's not ideal either. That's not far from ideal, but yeah, it is what it is. But it's the senior players to me. I want to see lift.
No, Andrew, I would not be disappointed if we won. I don't think pick 1 or pick 2 makes a difference, and I think a game at some point this year before we go, whether it's now or whether it's Gold Coast, it'd be sweet to beat Gold Coast. It would be good to get one more win this year for the kids.
I guarantee if we get pick 1, we're not going to blow them on a spud like Luke Livingston, Cruiser. Who are some other notable Carlton first-round draft picks they blew in the last 20 years of insignificance? O'Reilly they've traded for.
Who was the guy that slapped Malthouse and then got picked up about pick 9? Blaine Boakhurst.
Yeah, Blokers. There's so many good Carlton number 1 picks that I can think of. Just for Andrew to bring back some great stuff.
Not number 1 first round. Kane Lucas.
No, I'm talking Luke Lucas. They were number 1. So champions.
I'm more than happy to get the win, because I think, to a point, it would just be rewarding for the young players who have busted their ass for quite a number of weeks now, just to have that bit of relief off their shoulders.
Andrew, he just brought up, did Dusty's dad die? He's actually just being a dickhead now. Just get rid of him. When you're bringing up comments like that to inflame Richmond supporters, there he goes.
Thank you.
Cool.
So I'm more than happy for him to go for the W and get the win, because it would be good reward for effort. And it does. I know it's a bit late for him, but it can help start to breed some winning ways. Hopefully, they might find a couple of things that worked for him. So I think, I'm more than happy to get the win. If the players are going out there fighting for the win, I'm backing him every step of the way.
Yeah, and not only is it good as a learning experience, it's good for the group to bring the group together.
For sure. Yeah, exactly right. All right, well, with that, let's get some tips, including margins. Feel free to send them through in chat. We'll post a few up. CB, who's winning and by how much?
I think we will secure round 1 this weekend. our number one pick.
Yeah.
So by losing, we will win.
EJ, what's your tip including margin?
You know what? I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say we're going to win by 17 points because Nank is going to be the difference in the middle.
He'll be a very welcomed back inclusion. I just think on exposed form, North Melbourne are actually playing a lot better than us, unfortunately.
You'd like to say negative.
I reckon we'll be thereabouts for at least 2 or 3 quarters.
Yeah.
I just don't know if we can deliver the ball properly into the front half of 4 quarters without a proper forward is my main concern. I'm probably going to say North Melbourne by about 15 to 20, but I would dearly love us to get up and get the win, to be honest, because I'm not too different on pick 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, that without my positivity, that's probably realistically where I'm at. Is where you're at. Well, hang around.
I think you're just looking forward to yard time tomorrow when you can actually start walking, doing your exercise, mate, and your mealtime's locked in.
Mate, that 1 hour out of 24 that I'm allowed outside the 4 walls is much.
I've got a cake with a file coming for you, mate. Happy birthday! I'll bring it in.
You should see that I've got the poster of Jane Mansfield on the wall.
Yeah, you're just filling your socks with sand, mate, releasing the dirt in the yard. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I'm with you, Sentimental, just wanting a 4-quarter effort. That's all we want. Whatever happens from there happens. But anyway, that is a wrap for tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you give us a like and follow wherever you're listening. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe as we try and close in on 900 subscribers. CB, thank you for jumping on tonight, mate. Much appreciated. And EJ, a nice little welcome return. Thank you for jumping on your visit to jail. Much appreciated.
Oh,
thank you for using your one phone call for us.
This actually makes me feel I get really good feels from this. I've really missed it. It's been a tough year. It's going to continue to be a tough year, but for the fact that it works for a week has made me smile a lot.
I reckon you miss showers on your own too, mate, for the next 5 years.
Oh, God. The banter was high when he popped in. It was very, very good. No, you're always more than welcome back anytime you've got time available, so I appreciate you jumping on. And Nick has asked every week how you're going, so he's always checking on you as well to make sure everything's going well. So I know, Nick, you'll be pretty rapt to have seen EJ tonight, which is
I've actually texted with Nick and almost squeezed a phone call in. It didn't quite work. Oh, Emma, I wish I had a parole officer like you. Trust me. Yeah, and I hope to speak to Nick soon. So
sounds good. All right, Tiggs hopefully back next week. We'll keep working on that, and then Grox will be back next week as well. So yeah, we will be back next Monday, no matter what, win, lose or draw. And until next time, go Tigers.
go Tigers.
Go Josh Smiley. Go Tigers.